As the title suggests, I will be breaking down every 35-year-old and older fight under the welterweight division. Seems a bit odd from a broad perspective, but that's only because it has an underlying, terrifying curse. Yes, every single championship fight involving a 35-year-old or older will lose their bout if they are under the welterweight division. Every single time.
All this talk about the over 35 curse, it's nonsense.
The track record for this is 0-15. A 100% chance rate for the ex-veteran, now old man, to lose his fight and begin his downfall. And speaking of downfall, let's start off with him. Tony Ferguson, 2020. We can't have a YouTube video about curses and depression without Tony Ferguson. We will start with all the lightweight championship fights to begin with. The minute this guy goes for a championship level fight, it was also the same minute he was 35. His very first fight at 35 was against Justin Gaethje, where Tony began his current record-breaking losing streak. Granted, there are many other factors that made Tony lose this fight, such as the double weight cut, the fight being quite short notice, so no time to study Justin, and the fact that the opponent is Justin in general. The fight is how you would expect it, and it's not that old for people to forget. Round 1 was kinda even, and round 2 is where we see Tony shine. In the last few seconds, Tony came in with his own uppercut before Justin landed his own. It was a knockdown, and listen to Joe Rogan.
Gaethje's in big trouble. Look at Tony Ferguson's stomach. Not even breathing heavy.
No, he's not breathing.
It's freakish.
All the judges scored that round for Tony, obviously. But this is where it gets gruesome, and even the judges think so too. Tony gets rocked a lot more in round 3, and it seems the damage is more taxing on him than Justin. This continues until the last half of round 5, where Herb Dean calls it. One of the judges already scored the final round before it finished via TKO, giving it a 10-7 round. That's how dominant the stand-up game was, and also how brutal it was. One theory is that 35 years old is getting to the point where you are quite old. When you are a lightweight or less and old, weight cutting is just not it. You are straining your body too much where it does affect your head, aka your chin. Also adding on Gaethje's power and the double weight cut, the shots Tony received were like giant bombs. World level competitive weight cutting isn't it. Another example is Alex Pereira, where for the first time in his life got KO'd this badly by Izzy. One factor is definitely the weight cut and age, where he just knew to move up instantly after that. Michael Chandler, 2021. This one is more funny, where it feels like more of a Chandler moment than the curse. It adds content to the video anyway, so it's gonna be an entry, don't worry. Chandler's first fight at the age of 35 is against Charles Oliveira for the vacant lightweight bout. It looked extremely promising, where Chandler looked like he was going to TKO Charles in the first round. But literally the instant round 2 started, Charles hooked him and finished it up. Sounds like I'm skewing perspectives, but this curse is merciless. After that, Chandler went to fight Justin Gaethje, where he lost by unanimous decision, but then won via KO to Tony, and then lost again to Dustin Poirier. All these fights I've stated were not championship fights, so they don't count under the curse. But depending how well Chandler does against Conor, he might end up being a title shot contender in the future. Maybe. So that's something to be wary of if you are Michael Chandler watching this video, which I doubt. Alex Volkanovski, 2023. Another tragic entry where this can also be contributed to the weight cut. An extremely short fight camp, and most of it was just emergency weight cutting. I respect Alex as a warrior to take this fight, because we all know we do not want to see an Islam versus Gamrot. Sadly, it did come at a price. At the age of 35 and 25 days old, he entered the ring against Islam for the rematch. This solidified my theory that lighter fighters doing competitive weight cuts at age 35 is the big factor on why they lose. Alex's head drained from dehydration just makes him not have a chin. It's also quite conflicting because that flush head kick would have knocked out Volk anyway, so what I've been saying might have been redundant. But you can also say weight cuts can affect every aspect of a fighter because your head is literally not in the right place. Your fight IQ, speed, and power also takes a toll too, not just your chin. Also notice how all the fights I've talked about so far ended with KO. I'll be getting to the Topuria fight soon, don't worry. Featherweight, Kenny Florian. 2011. This is a fast one. Kenny goes for a title shot in 2011 where he was 35 years and 135 days old. He fought against Jose Aldo for the featherweight championship bout. This was a long time ago, but you can see some comments talking about the weight cut of Kenny already. The fight is how you expected it. Aldo did well with the leg kicks and doing better with the striking. The fight got padded out because Kenny wanted to really wrestle and win by points after that. It worked because it did pad out the fight, but the wrestling wasn't as successful. After many takedown defenses and attempts, Kenny just looked so much more tired than Aldo, and Aldo remains the featherweight champion. Probably the happiest ending for a 35-year-old featherweight doing a title shot. Frankie Edgar, 2019. Coming in as a massive underdog, I forgot why they booked this fight against Edgar and Holloway. I summed it up very quick in my all Max Holloway fights video. Shameless plug. Yeah, Edgar was 37 years old coming into this fight. That definitely takes some major balls for someone that age to fight the cardio king Max. After that side quest failed, he tries to defend the bout against Frankie Edgar. I will just spoil it now. Frankie Edgar got outclassed. It's sad for the ex-champion, but it's true. Nothing seemed to stick, and if it did, it didn't for long enough. He got 50-45 and lost. Max looked as good as ever, and it was more of a downfall of Edgar fight. Following this, Edgar lost by KOs until retirement, except for one fight where it was a cheeky split decision win over Pedro Munoz. Korean Zombie 2022. Also extremely convenient for the curse, the Korean Zombie, aged 35 years and 23 days old at the time, fights Volkanovski for the featherweight title. Not much really needs to be said about this fight. Even if the Korean Zombie was 32 or something, the result will most likely be the same. And also, Korean Zombie is known for his chin, back in his prime. The whole fight before the standing TKO was just Volk piecing up TKZ. I don't think there was even a moment where Volk looked like he was in trouble by anything. And of course, after that fight, it was basically setting up his retirement. An even older Korean Zombie fought Max Holloway, and you know if TKZ managed to beat Holloway, that's another instant title shot. But of course, let's be real, he got knocked out clean by an overhand in round 3. He stated there's no point in fighting if it isn't for the goal to be champion. And with Max and Volk in the picture, it made a lot of sense. It takes next level courage to accept that and be humble. Also, he has an extremely famous YouTube channel, so I'm pretty sure he's living a pretty well-deserved retirement anyway. Josh Emmett, 2023. This may not technically count for some people because it is for the interim championship bout, but the UFC has reintroduced the concept of defending interim champion bouts again, so that means it kinda counts now. Josh Emmett fights Yair Rodriguez for the featherweight interim bout at the age of 37 years old. He's actually coming close to 38. And to Josh's credit, this man somehow still has a crazy chin. Being one of the only few fighters to not get KO'd by Topuria and having only one KO loss in his life. Josh lost the fight against Yair from a submission, so it really doesn't feel like the curse is alluding to bad chins. But he did get finished regardless. I feel like Josh maxed out the stats he knows he can use for his age. He maxed out his chin and power as much as he can, and that's about it. Yair overpowered him with so much more skill and with many levels leading to the finish. After that fight, he lost to Topuria, still holding himself as a great fighter and then KOing Bryce Mitchell. So he's nowhere near retiring at the age of 39 and also nowhere near leaving the top rankings as well. Alex Volkanovski, 2024. This is the second fight of Alex Volkanovski after turning 35 years old. This is the 20th time talking about this fight now, and you already know what happened. He got KO'd in the second round really bad. Not to mention a stronger weight cut going all the way back to featherweight for him. Not looking good for Volk, especially if he's looking for an immediate rematch with a tiny rest. Don't do it.
You know, I definitely want that rematch. Spain's what I'm hearing is going to happen. Dana wants Spain. Obviously, Ilya wants Spain. That probably won't be till later in the year, so obviously the timing will be perfect for me to, spend time with the fam, rest up a little bit, look after myself, and then we'll get back in there and we'll make it right.
Bantamweight, Uriah Faber, 2016. 37-year-old Uriah Faber fights Dominic Cruz in 2018 for the Bantamweight title. A 37-year-old bantamweight managing to get a title shot is already mad respect. He came in as a moderate underdog, and there's a reason why. Dominic Cruz basically won every round of that fight from the judges and won via unanimous decision. He never got another title shot after that, and his career was kinda going downwards. He did get some wins in, but it was to the point where he would just be stagnant in the midst of being mid. So after a Peter Yan KO, he hung it up. There's nothing more to do as a 45-year-old bantamweight in the UFC. Dominic Cruz, 2020. Dominic Cruz did lose a fight in 2016 against Cody where he was only 31 years old, and that was a championship fight. So you can take that as a loss in general for him. It was a big loss because he was undefeated for 10 years at the time, which is why the UFC was extremely forgiving when he was granted a title shot after 4 years. From 2016 to 2020, he was scheduled to fight opponents, but he always had back-to-back injuries, short-term and long-term, where he just couldn't fight. And sadly, time wasn't on his side because he just turned 35 once he did get the title shot against Henry Cejudo. In the last 10 seconds of round 2, Cruz's head movement was his downfall, where he got cut in with a knee. That knocked him down, which led to the TKO. After that, Cruz fought a few times, but decided to hang it up after a Chito Vera KO. TJ Dillashaw, 2021. Time was not a luxury for the former champion TJ Dillashaw. That 2-year USADA suspension from 2019 to 21 could not come at a worse time. After the hiatus, he did fight Corey Sandhagen and managed to get the win to receive a title shot. But you know well about this curse. He was 36 years old, having a rough camp, and got destroyed by Aljamain. Reading from this quote, Dillashaw faced Aljamain Sterling for the UFC Bantamweight Championship on October 22nd, 2022. At UFC 280, attempting to become the UFC champion for a record-tying 3rd time. Shout out to the 0-3 curse as well. Dillashaw, who was hampered by a dislocated shoulder from early on in the bout, lost the fight via technical knockout in round 2. In his post-fight speech, Dillashaw admitted that he had come into the fight with an ongoing shoulder problem, saying, "I'd probably dislocated it 20 times in training camp." Another victim of the curse. I say that to sound ominous, but there is also very practical reasons why they lost too. Henry Cejudo, 2023. I'm not sure why Cejudo came out of retirement at the age of 36, but here we are. The Wiki even stated that his plan to announce his retirement 3 years before this fight was because he wanted to negotiate the contract. That went well because he got stripped and removed from the UFC straight after. So in 2023, unretiring, he fought against Aljamain Sterling and lost. In respect to Cejudo, he still has it where it was a split decision loss, and many other MMA media outlets scored Cejudo winning. That was enough motivation to not make Cejudo retire again, and he continues to this day as a top contender. But his time will come slowly, just like Dominic Cruz and Uriah Faber, where he just can't reach a title shot again. And he will get brutally KO'd just like them from an upcoming star and hang it up. Flyweight. Joseph Benavidez, 2020. The moment he turned 35, he gets to fight for the vacant flyweight bout. And to rub more salt into the wound, he's fighting the absolute monster Figgy as well. It's safe to say that he got destroyed in this fight. Obviously, if you are this far into the video, everyone I talk about loses. But Joseph came in as the favorite here. In round 2, Figgy came in with an elbow that cut Joseph up really bad and went for the straight punch that ended it. I don't know how he got away with murder like that. Joseph Benavidez 2, 2020. Here comes the rematch, and for the real undisputed bout because Figgy missed weight in their first fight. Being old in the flyweight division is even more punishing because you don't have any overriding skill that can beat your age against the opponent. Figgy drops him again and kills him with a rear naked choke. Yes, he killed him. Davison Figueiredo, 2023. Now we fast forward 3 more years and we reach the finale of the Brandon Moreno and Figgy rivalry. One good reason why Figgy is a monster is because he was genetically gifted. In saying that, he was gifted enough to cut down so much weight and just finish his opponents. That's normally not that common in the flyweight division. And Pantoja, our current flyweight champion, has only knocked down in his whole career, known for his crimson chin. He got knocked down only once in his career by Figueiredo. But moving back, sadly, Figgy during this fight against Brandon Moreno was 35 years old and 34 days. It's like the exact moment you turn 35, you just lose. Moreno was already kinda winning the fight before the finish, and he clipped Figgy good with a knuckle hook. It was barely legal, and it was a doctor's stoppage because Figgy's eye did not recover. If you are 35 and not actually washed, then the curse will just give you extremely bad luck then. And as a bonus, this 35-year-old curse is technically counted for the welterweight division as well. Well, not really. There are a couple of wins in the welterweight division from a 35-plus-year-old. I will go through them extremely quickly. 2001, Pat Milicic, 35 years old. 2002, Jill Castillo, 37 years old. 2017, Tyron Woodley, 35 years old, won against Maia. Demian Maia, 39 years old, lost against Woodley in the same fight. 2018, Tyron Woodley, 36 years old, won against Darren Till. 2019, Tyron Woodley, 36 years old, lost against Usman. 2020, Jorge Masvidal, 35 years old, lost against Usman. 2021, Jorge Masvidal, now 1 year older, 36 years old, lost against Usman. 2022, Kamaru Usman, 35 years old and 100 days old, lost against Leon Edwards, a brutal KO. 2023, Kamaru Usman, 35 years old and 312 days, lost against Leon again. And 2023, Colby Covington, 35 years old, lost against Leon Edwards. So not including the welterweight division, it is still a 100% chance to lose a championship fight. And yeah, I've got nothing else important to say. It really is a depressing curse. Yeah, I'm sorry, Volk.